But we have this from Watcher Guru. First Republic Bank expected to be seized by U.S. government. Wow. First Republic Bank is expected to be seized by the U.S. government. A report by Fox Business Network says, according to Charles Gasparino, bankers working with First Republic say they expect eventual government receivership for the ailing bank. This will come after it exhausts private sector solutions, such as asset sales and finding a buyer, both of which appear difficult. Not surprised. First Republic lost more than 40% of its deposits, approximately $72 billion in the first quarter of this year. Holy crap.
That's bad.
Its shares sank nearly 50% as the end of Tuesday. This is according to a Monday announcement by the bank. The bank has seen record drops over the past month and a half, particularly since the Silicon Valley Bank was closed in March. Multiple big banks have also struggled. However, it looks like First Republic will be falling into the hands of the U.S. government soon. They're going to be doing that central bank digital currency in June or something.
I heard about that.
So this is all like kind of good timing. What if this is what precipitates an emergency buyout? We were talking about this the last time there was a banking crisis, which was like 3 weeks ago. And so yikes. And the idea is like the banks start crumbling. Then the U.S. government steps in and says, we are going to rescue your deposits, good members of First Republic Bank. Simply download the Fed app, and we will convert your US dollars into Fed coin, which you can then use to purchase goods.
I'll tell you guys if that happens because this whole discussion is stressing me out. I'm experiencing some existential angst because that's my bank. That's my bank that I bank in. It's also the bank that owns the mortgage for my house.
That might be good news.
It might be. I have no idea. Like,
wouldn't that be cool though?
We've got direct deposits going into this bank. We've got we just learned about this like half an hour ago or something.
Yeah.
I told my wife we don't know what's happening with our money. I mean, we're well under the FDIC cap, so we'll get insured for that. But
to be fair, you've had like a month to prepare for this because we knew First Republic was in dire straits.
I believe their PR statements. They were like, we're secure. I actually think that, I mean, I don't know anything about this, but I do think that they're just taking backsplash from what happened with Silicon Valley Bank. So I kind of doubt that this is a fundamental issue with a bank. I think that this is part of a panic, which is a reason why I should have joined the panic and taken my money out myself.
Or maybe by not panicking, you may have helped them.
Yeah.
But they lost 40% of the deposits?
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like mismanagement. They're being sued, apparently. But hold on right there a minute. Wouldn't it be cool to wake up? Everybody listening, you wake up one day and you get a phone call and they're like, you know that mortgage you had on your house? It's gone. House is just yours. Yeah. For $300,000. Boop.
Actually, in 2009, during the banking crisis, with a financial crisis, was when I bought my first house in LA. And I had this experience. I've never heard anybody have this experience before. I put in an offer on this house. It was super cheap because it was like a short sale. You know, it was like property was super cheap, obviously, right after the crash. And they sat on the offer for a while. They came back to me like 3 weeks later, and they said, my agent called me. He was like, I don't know, can't make heads or tails out of this, but the bank is asking if you are willing to lower your offer by $50,000. And if that happens, we'll clear it and you'll get the house. And I did it and I got the house.
Like, absolutely not. No. I want to pay $50,000 more.
Yeah,
That's how crazy the market was.
But I guess the issue was like, would the buyer accept or the seller? I'm sorry.
It was like, I think the best I can make of it is like, there was nobody who actually owned the house because these were all securitized loans. It was like, some Chinese sovereign wealth fund and pension fund or whatever. So nobody actually had equity in the house. But the bank that was holding the debt on it was just losing money every month that was on the market. So they just wanted, it was a toxic asset. They just wanted to get off the market. And what they were afraid of is if they took the offer that I accepted, the appraiser would come in who used to be super, these appraisers used to be super like corrupt and hand in glove with the realtors, but all of a sudden they were super honest. And so they were afraid that the appraiser was going to come in and say, no, this is not worth as much as you're offering. And then the deal would fall apart and then they'd have it on their books for months longer. So that's the best I can make sense of it.
First Republic said Monday it lost a net total of $72 billion in deposits during the first quarter. An outflow that would have topped $100 billion if not for a rescue from 11 of the nation's largest banks. So this is like people are it's a run on the bank.
Yeah.
This sounds
Same
like
as
people
Silicon
are
Valley.
rushing to the bank and getting their money. I'm worried. It's kind of scary. There was another story. Did you guys hear PNC is shutting down like 40 some odd branches?
Wow. No.
Dude, I wonder if the banking system is going and we're like on the Titanic, just oblivious as like
The banking system and the media at the same time.
We need a Jimmy Stewart.
Dude, the media, Nate Silver got fired.
Yeah. BuzzFeed's gone. BuzzFeed News.
Dude,
Whoa,
we need a Jimmy Stewart to be like, oh, the money's not in the bank. It's in your neighbor's home and in their business. So that people leave their money there.
I think the first thing, Adrian, you did was like you looked up Jim Cramer.
Yeah, it was on Watch or Google.
He's unbeatable.
He's undefeated. He literally said, but no, you pulled it up right before the show, and you're like, oh, he said it's a safe bank.
It's a safe bank.
Yeah,
he could be right. Like fundamental.
FRC is New Focus, very good bank.
I'm just telling you, the man is undefeated. He will not lose.
I mean, I'm really considering using him as an inverse financial advisor. You know what I mean? Just like whatever he says, you do the opposite. He's like the George Costanza of finance.
Dude, with Nancy Pelosi and Jim Cramer, you should know exactly what to invest in. You have no excuse.
That's true. Yeah, whatever Nancy Pelosi invests in and whatever Jim Cramer advises you to do, you do the opposite.
He's like, don't do. He's like, Nancy's headed for bankruptcy. Don't invest in anyone.
I don't know what this means, though. Am I supposed to be worried? Like, should we panic?
You should always panic, Tim.
I should always panic.
Always panic. That's a good rule of thumb.
I want to try and pull up this news. Look at this one. This is like, we never actually covered this story, even though it's from April 4th. Can I close this or something? What is this? PNC Bank set to close 47 branches across the U.S. by end of June.
Wow.
So if you got First Republic or PNC, I guess the challenging thing is, does reporting on it just contribute to a run on the bank and like make everything worse?
I think the banking system, though, it was a matter of time because the whole thing operates on confidence and faith, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they have a system of fractional reserve lending where if you put in $100, the bank can lend out 90 of it and only hold 10.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's holding the system together is everybody not going to the bank at the same time to take their money out, which is exactly what's happening right now.
But they can actually lend out 100. They removed the reserve requirement.
Well, they put it back.
I
think they put it back. Someone super chatted said they put it back. But it's not that they can loan out 90. It's that they can create $90. So if there's $100 in the bank, they create $90 new on that 100. So now there's $190 in the money supply.
No, I thought they can actually multiply it by 10, right? Because they only need 10% in reserve. So if they have $100, they can create $900. Like what happened with the bailout was the Fed issued out like $425 billion, so that could be leveraged to give $4.2 trillion in loans out. Like
I'm not sure. My understanding was that you put $100 in the bank, they create $90 in loans. So they still have the 100, and now there's another $90, and then someone who gets that $90 deposits it in a different bank. So now there's 100 here, 90 here. That bank then loans out, $81 or whatever, and so $100 turns into $1,000.
And that's inflation.
Yeah.
No, but I actually think because you only have to have 10% on hand, they can literally say we have $100, therefore we're able to lend out 900 as opposed to 90.
I think you guys are saying the same thing. You're saying
no, but he's saying 90.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm just being like they could like loan that 90 out, and
But they're not
keep
loaning
10.
it out; they're creating it.
Well, yes.
Like credit
Issuing
cards make
credit.
money.
Wait,
Yeah.
let me resolve this. If somebody puts $100 into a bank, they create $900 because that's 10%, right? So that gives them the ability to be able to.
I don't think that's how that
lend
works.
out.
They can loan out 90% of the deposits.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
So if they receive $100,
They keep 10 on hand, but what I'm saying,
they keep 100 on hand and then create 90.
I think that do they, or do they just actually issue it out? Because a lot of these banks don't have the cash on hand when people come to withdraw, and that's why they collapse. So I think they actually do pass the money out.
No, well,
Someone's saying it's 900, not 90.
Yeah.
Not in the sense that
$100 deposit is 1,000 in new money loans.
Yeah.
if they lend the money out, it's not as
Seamus
if that
is
gets,
right. Okay, Seamus is right.
It's not as if it
Base
gets deducted
Well,
from
so-
anybody else's bank account, though.
We don't actually fact check. We just ask the audience, and the audience says Seamus is
The
right.
audience says I'm right. This is a popularity
that's all-
contest.
that's all
Let's
that
face it.
matters.
Yeah.
I got no idea. I mean, I'm not a finance guy, so I just I'll defer to the cartoonist.
That's a brilliant strategy. Look, if you can make a living making cartoons, you're good with money. That's all I'll say.
You can stretch
You can
those
stretch
dollars.
that dollar, dude.
Wait, was that an anti-Semitic joke?
What? No, it was an anti-me joke.
Okay.
He's Irish. He's Irish
Exactly,
black man. No one here is panicking though. Like you're like I'm kind
I'm
of worried about.
panicking.
Well, hold on. You got a house $50,000 cheaper right
True,
after the
I know.
crash,
There's
so
payback.
you get a break. Okay?
But I might get a free house now,
Get a break.
actually.
Oh, well, that would be nice.
Yeah, what happens? Like the government bails out and the government owns your house.
I have no idea what happens.
What if Joe Biden
no
is just
idea.
like, we own your house?
It's my house, man. You can't own a house. It's everyone's house, man.
Oh, man.
That's what he said about kids today.
So it's not your children, it's the nation's children.
I was like, what? Excuse
the
me?
state, the state owns your kids.
You can't tell someone not to sniff your kid, man. We're all paying taxes for that hair.
I don't think he said that.
That's exactly what he said. You fact check me. Have the chat fact check me on it, Tim.
All right, chat.
check me.
Did Joe Biden actually say he's allowed to smell your kids? They're going to say he did.
That was the spirit of what he said. Hold on. That was the spirit of what he
You're
said.
reading between the lines.
First Republic Bank shares sink
Splitting hairs.
49% after earnings report. I mean, like, the thing about this story is I can opine for days on, like, ABC News firing Nate Silver, and BuzzFeed collapsing, and Don Lemon getting fired, and Tucker getting fired. But, like, the banking system collapsing, I'm kind of just like, well, I'm glad I bought Bitcoin or something. I don't know. It's like, as a millennial who's lived through 2 major financial crises, I'm kind of not fazed by banks falling apart and what that means. And especially considering, I got chickens, so I'm not worried about
Are
anything.
you confident in Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm more confident in the chickens, to be honest.
That's true, though.
Right in front of you.
I am more confident in the chickens.
What do you make of the idea that crypto is actually the vehicle that's going to be used to bring in the CBDCs?
I mean, it is. Literally, that's what they're doing. Like, the central bank digital currencies are crypto-based currencies that they're making. The Bitcoin, of course, the precursor. But I've actually argued this for a while, that Bitcoin was the most convenient way to get anti-establishment conspiracy-type individuals to embrace global currency. Mm-hmm. You have people like Alex Jones being like, they want a one-world government with one currency, Amero, the euro, and then all of a sudden, around the time he's complaining about the Amero, a North American single currency, Bitcoin pops up. No one knows who made it. And then immediately it's all of these people who want to buy it. So it's like, convince the one group of people who would reject a global currency to adopt the global currency, and you've won. You've controlled opposition to your way through the barricade,
Yeah, well, and this is part of what is very confusing right now. I mean, conservatism doesn't have a solid definition or solid footing at the present moment. It's a little bit of we're just going to do the opposite of what the left is doing, and a little bit of we're just going to do the opposite of what the establishment is doing. The idea of Bitcoin is certainly not a conservative idea, right? That's a very new, interesting, innovative idea. That doesn't make it a bad one. I think there could be value to it, but conservatism is supposed to be about conserving. Yeah, I would say it's more libertarian. And it's not to say that conservatives can't have any thinking which overlaps with libertarianism. And it would be reasonable to say because this government is so horrible and does things so badly and is destroying our currency, it makes sense for conservatives to look into crypto if that's the particular hedge they've chosen. This is not financial advice. But we have not.
Yes.
We don't have a cohesively defined movement. Is my point.
Well, I guess we'll see what happens with these banks, and I'm not going to give anybody financial advice, but I'll just tell you I've already been looking at means of storing value elsewhere because with PNC closing, I think it was 47 branches. That's very scary,
dude.
I mean, that's like that might be bigger news than a regional bank collapsing because PNC is a major bank. They're all over the East Coast. Maybe 47 is not that many compared to how many branches they have. I guess it's an important question, but all of this happening at once is kind of freaky.
Well, the thing about Silicon Valley and First Republic is that they're like high-end banks for, affluent people. They do like First Republic's main business is wealth management. So I don't know about PNC because I guess we do have it on the West Coast, but it's not very, very present. Is it?
No, they're just like
normal
during gas
bank for
stations.
normal people?
They're
Right.
like Wawa and stuff like that.
Right. So I don't know what conclusions to draw from the fact that it's these like elite banks that are falling, but
In Australia, they announced that some of their big banks are going to stop giving out cash. You go to the bank and you're like, I'd like money. I'm like, you can't have it. Yep.
yeah.
And the reason why is they said it's because everyone's using mobile apps. So nobody needs the physical location to withdraw cash anymore. You should go to an ATM, which is the precursor to your money only exists on the internet.
yeah.
And then central bank digital currency.
I've actually wondered many times what this means for panhandlers.
Nobody
Nobody carries cash anymore, right?
You're gonna tap your card. You're gonna walk up and go boop, and then they're gonna be like, "Thank you, sir." And they're gonna hold out the keypad, and you're gonna go boop, and then you're gonna type in the number. That's actually interesting. I wonder if like the global elites are trying to eliminate that kind of thing, panhandling. I mean, maybe you'll hand them a bottle of water or a sandwich.
Well, in my city, there are sometimes homeless people who have like a Cash App thing out on their sign.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
not. There's no way.
No, I'm not kidding.
Cash app.
Yes.
And then people walk up with their phones.
The thing is, like, there are a lot of homeless people who just have like really cheap smartphones nowadays. So they get.
So you're saying
they'll get like a $20 phone from Cricket or something or whatever the inexpensive phone provider is now.
You're talking about down in Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're saying I could go to a big city and just sit in a lawn chair and put up a sign with a cash app and say, "Give me money," and then people will just send me money.
Yeah. You look the role.
We should, we should put a cash app thing on Timcast, like right down here in the corner, and just like,
Speaking of Cash
please
App,
give me your money.
I know this isn't on the docket, but did you guys read this report? It was like a month ago or something about how Cash App and the entire, what's the name of it? It's not Square anymore. It's like Cube or something like that. Whatever the company is, Jack Dorsey's company.
I think it's still Square.
Is it still Square?
Yeah, Cube might be a different one.
Okay. The entire app is basically like most of its revenue comes from like sex trafficking, drug dealing,
my gosh.
gun running.
Yeah.
Wait,
It's
wait,
like-
Jack Dorsey's. Wait, what
It
is
was
this?
like it was a very exhaustive report about how
Wait,
just
wait.
Cash App is just built straight up on black market activity.
We have to make Cash App safe for the black market, which is why we're banning all legal activity on Cash App.
So wait. Cash App. Where did you find this?
It was this report that was issued that they took issue with, but the report was very detailed. I read a lot of it. It was exhaustive. I didn't read the whole thing, but
Because
I certainly read the
I've got
executive
Square
summary.
shares. You know, I got a handful of them.
Yeah, you should read that report.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was like, I don't know, it was maybe like 10 years ago or something, or 8 years ago. Someone told me, this rich dude who lived in New York, I was hanging out with Max Kaiser, and he was just like, you got to buy Square stock because everything's going digital transactions. And I was like, okay, I guess. And then I bought a little bit, and then it like went tenfold in value. I was like, wow.
The other thing I remember in this report is that there's all these rappers who are straight up bragging about it in their raps. So they're like another thing that it funds is a lot of like hitmen are hired via Cash App, and there's these rappers who some of whom have been charged with murder after reciting these lyrics, who are like, hit me on Cash App, and they're talking about like doing hits on people.
Oh my
through Cash
gosh.
App. And so it's like and then Jack Dorsey, I think I remember from this report at one point was like, in an interview, was talking about how grateful he is to all the publicity he's gotten from these rappers.
Oh my gosh. This is a guy who thinks that using the offensive pronouns for person on Twitter makes them unsafe. And he's like,
Come use my murder app. Okay? Be able to find somebody.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.